Hey everyone, today we're here back looking at this lake drain. It's a very cold day. Currently it's about 5 or 6 degrees Fahrenheit. Last night was way down below 0. It's gonna be like that again for the next few nights. Check it out. Ordinarily this drain has all that area, water, but it got so cold the past few nights it froze right up to it. The moving water is starting to freeze. How thick is that ice? Not very thick. Look at all those icicles down inside there. It's so cold out right now. Go take a look at where it's going. There's absolutely no clog, but there's a clog at the intake structure. If you guys have seen my past videos, this river is feeding it and it's draining. About a half a mile upstream, there's an intake structure on the river that brings it down a canal to keep the man-made lake constantly filled and fresh water coming in. Most likely this is safe to walk on, but I'm not sure. It's only been cold a few nights. But it's been extremely cold the past few nights. Let's take a look. Lots of animals go down there, look at that. None of those are human trails. It's all animal trails. Now down here is the crumbling culvert pipe. You can tell there's very little flow because we're in the middle of winter and everything's freezing. We've been here, entire pipe is blasting. It's starting to siphon. Sometimes it's gulping and burping, as in my previous videos. But look how rotted out the pipe is. It goes that far. See down there? The rusted away metal. It's because it's open to the elements. I will say it's in okay shape inside. It should be replaced in the next 5 years or so, but it's not going to fail anytime soon. We always got to check the drain before we unclog the intake structure to make sure we're not sending water with this thing clogged. But take a look at this. Since it snowed a few nights ago, you can see the water has dropped dramatically. That was underwater, that's why it didn't snow there. Carefully, try not to flood my boots. Definitely don't want to flood my boots in -5 or +5 weather. Look at this, here's another piece of the culvert, broken. See all this super heavy frost. That's not snow, it's just frost. But there's the structure. Walking down to the river, which is full of Frazzle Ice. Hey everyone, today we're on the river and it's frozen. It's like a slushy or a snow cone. That's what you call Frazzle Ice. Isn't that cool? Look at this. Literally snow cone material just floating by everywhere. Look at this. Put my hand out, collect a whole ton of it. So cool. Frazzle Ice, that's what it does when it's in the process of freezing over. Fast moving water, they can't get a sheet, so this is what it is. It's flowing slush until it gets cold enough to completely freeze. This is actually the littlest flow I've ever seen coming out of this structure because it's so cold. There's another piece of the corrugated pipe. Wow, look at this. Since it snowed, look how far the river has dropped too. Up there, it's just freezing. The groundwater is slowly coming to a halt. That's kind of cool. Only half of it was frozen. But this is what we call Frazzle Ice, everyone. The water is so low, I can actually walk out here quite far without flooding my boots. Frazzle Ice is basically like snow cone consistency ice that is flowing. You can probably see it right here where it's a bit stagnant. Let me take off my gloves. There, see that? It's like a snow cone consistency, everything floating in the water. This thing is starting to freeze up. River's very low today. If you notice against the shore, you see how it's like piled as if it's snowbanks? That's from when the water was higher. The Frazzle Ice, it builds up against things in the right condition. This is not snow. That's just an extreme amount of frost accumulating from the humidity of the river. The river is slightly warmer, so the moisture coming off it's immediately freezing on objects around it, such as this. That's frost, not snow. Pretty cool, right? It's all frost, not snow. This is really cool. The side of the rock hitting the sun, they shatter like that. Look at them all the rocks, just this side. It's hollow. Good thing I got steel toe boots to easily kick that. This river may freeze across if this weather keeps up. It froze across last year. Last year, this area had about 2 solid months of weather where it did not hit the freezing mark. That's when last year we were able to make videos such as chainsawing a hole in the river, and we could walk around underneath it because the water dropped, leaving the ice suspended on a bunch of rocks. Now we gotta go walk to the intake structure, which we're gonna have to probably use a fire axe to get it open. It's completely jammed with, well, not completely, I'd say mostly jammed with sheets of ice and Frazzle Ice. But we'll meet you down there. So cool. Look at all that Frazzle Ice in the unfrozen canals. Like a slush consistency, it builds up against the edges and it slowly closes up the openings. Now what you guys are seeing right here is where the canal enters the man-made lake. The water's not able to get underneath, so it's spilling over the top on the surface instead. So everyone, this is the top of the drainage canal. A lot less water than in the past, probably just because it's frozen. But there's an enormous amount of ice built up against the other side. This is the intake structure of the river that keeps the man-made lake filled up. You can see a bunch of Frazzle Ice going by. It might be difficult to see with all the rapids. Look down here. There's feet worth of ice jammed inside this thing. I'm not sure what we can do about that, but before we get the rake and other stuff out, I'm gonna walk down there and see what we can do. Not really worried. If I fall into water, I can just get back in the vehicle. I don't even think this is possible, honestly. Oh, there we go. Look at that. It is possible. Just watch where my weight is. Look at that. So I can stand on that rung right there. Okay, this ice is strong enough. Setting the camera up right here. Let's get on in there. Now watch as I feed it. Whoa. I got a little bit wet. I got just a little bit wet. Hope you guys saw those big pieces go in there. All right, guys. Now, let me explain this. I'm not doing this out of laziness. I definitely want to send more pieces through there. That was so fun. Heard those pieces go boom, boom, boom as they went in the culvert pipe. Well, guys, those water's having no problem getting underneath this. There was a blockage. The ice was starting to build against the entrance because as Frazzle Ice, this floating slush comes by. Some of it's getting sucked in here, and it likes to build against edges, making it smaller, cutting back capacity. But why am I gonna leave this? It is so cold outside right now. This is acting as insulation. If I open this up, it's gonna try to freeze across the surface, meaning it will block that whole thing really quick tonight. But now that it's inside the structure, wind is gonna have a problem getting in the hole I made, but this will protect it as insulation because it's so high above the water. What I'm standing on right now, but look at the edge. You see how it's like a snowbank? As the water's flowing by, sheets of ice and Frazzle Ice is getting stuck on the edges. It likes to bind to the edges. I'd say this thing dropped about 1 foot, as you see over there, about a foot or so. But this right here is a buildup of sheets of ice. It did not freeze like this. So this barrier would not be reformed again unless this thing flooded in some kind of freak midwinter thaw, which isn't too common in this area. We'll likely be below freezing now for the next month. Very cold area. Entire forecast, the highest temperature in the forecast is about 34. The majority of the days, highs are in the teens and single digits like today. But that was really cool, getting to send those big chunks of ice in there. We got the whole end of it open. Let's see what progress we did on the other side. I didn't even have to get the axe out. Thought I was gonna have to put an axe through that. Now that ice you saw was pretty thick I was breaking. It's mostly sheets of ice and Frazzle Ice, which is basically hard snow once the water leaves it on the edge. Very easy to kick through. That would not have been as easy if it was like 6 or 8 inches of solid ice, which is structural. Let's go look on the other side. Yes, we did make a huge difference. Look at a huge difference we made. Before, the water was only flowing in this canal. Now it's up over all the ice, over all that ice. I'd say the canal is flowing maybe a good 4 inches deeper than it was. A lot less water than in the past, probably just because it's frozen. Let me go down there and show you the difference. When we first started, the water was in this little canal. Now you see this whole thing right here is full of water. You see there's a couple inches there, maybe close to 3 or 4 inches on top of it. Why is it not on top of it here? It's ice, it floats. This whole thing, see? The center right here, you see that crack? Ice floats. It floated and cracked it as the water level I just created rose. Over here, did not crack yet. That's why you see there's like good 4 inches of water on top of it. But as you see, there's different layers. Top layer froze first. Water dropped back, it froze again. Dropped back, froze again. Dropped back, froze again. That's why there's different steps under the water. Now that I just unclogged that, it flooded back up here again. And everything I just released caused a mini ice dam in the canal right there. That will cause zero problem. Probably melt from the flowing water. But we got this thing open and flowing again very well. And stupid me has dropped my glove. No big deal. They're waterproof snow gloves. Now let me show you guys what's down here. Whoop, really slippery rocks. Very slippery. Holding on to some tree roots. Trying to find something structural enough to hold me. My kicking right there just released a few chunks of ice that were being built up. Now that I'm moving around and doing stuff, I'm actually starting to sweat, and I'm not even wearing a winter coat. I love cold weather. My body runs unusually hot. That's how I can put up with this stuff. Most people wonder how I can put up with all this cold weather. My body just runs hot for who knows why. I'm just used to the cold. This is so fun. Every time I get stuck on a rock, I give it a little push. And it can float a little bit further. I'm just bored. This is not important. It got stuck again, but I think if I get it here, it'll go quite a while. Looks like the water's getting deeper now. I think it might go a little while now. Yep. Might even get too deep to follow. Yep, getting too deep to follow. Let's get up onto the shore. What you're seeing right now is a small access road they made with an excavator last year to dig this thing out. That's why this drainage ditch is so perfect. They did the maintenance it needed last year. Any man-made structure, whether it's a canal, a drainage ditch, the man-made pond down here, occasionally will need to be dug out. I didn't even notice while I was doing that, some guy with a dog and a fluorescent vest just walked by. Didn't even notice him. But now you can see the drainage ditch is dug out pretty well. These pieces are gonna go for quite a while. Down here, it looks like there might be some obstruction. Maybe not, it might just be ice. But how cool is that? We improved the flow quite a bit. Now down there at that drain, the flow we just created will be almost unnoticeable. It's very little water once it gets down to the drain. We're still following these big pieces. The water is deep now and slowing down. Deeper the canal, the slower the water is going to move because it has more space. But I'm walking you guys down to the end of this canal so I could show you where it enters the pond. Our previous visits of the place, I can't recall ever bringing you guys down here with me. There's some kind of animal track here, little paw prints. I'd say maybe a raccoon. Could be a house cat also. There are a bunch of houses around here. Those big chunks of ice are still following me. They'll meet me down here. I see no obstructions. Right here is a little bit of a bottleneck. It's a possibility it'll get stuck. It's definitely gonna get stuck up here. I'm seeing an ice jam because it's got to jam somewhere. Think about it. The pond is frozen. It's not going to enter the pond. In fact, oh, right there, it's all going to jam against that unless that thing can't hold it. Chances are it won't be able to hold it. But you see, since we unclogged that, look at all the ice on the edges is underwater. It's no longer down in between it anymore. But where I showed you guys earlier, it all spilling over the surface of the lake, that's happening from increased flow or the stuff jamming in the opening underneath the ice. It can't get underneath the pond anymore, so it'll spill over the top. This is the final destination of the ice. It won't be able to get any further. What you're seeing is a big buildup of Frazzle Ice. Now we're going to continue down. This is all Frazzle Ice. That's not structural at all. But you see the water going over the ice along the edges because it can't find its opening down below anymore. Down here, entering the lake, it's starting to back up into here. This slice, no, does not go to a culvert pipe or anything. It's only so you can't drive your car down this access road. But as you can see now, I'm not going out there too far. I don't want to fall in. But I'm going to show you guys. See all this stuff on the edge? It's not structural, see? Just thin. Now this change of the water on top of this wasn't from me, because you see how it's already frozen? There's a thin layer of ice right here. Sometime in the past day, it getting underneath the ice got jammed up somehow. Just typical things floating by. That's what happens in the wintertime. So now that we're on the far side, the parking lot, take a look at this. It's spilling over the top, on top of the ice. And what's so cool about that is, every cold night that this persists, it keeps getting thicker and thicker. You see how high this is? This water flowing is probably a foot above the ice, if you can make that out. Right here is a good example. See how it's flowing down ice? It's a big shelf of ice just slowly forming as it gets colder out. Just take a look at how far this goes. On my walk back, I could hear some major cracks as this is putting a lot of weight on top of the pond. I can still hear it a bit. Look, it found a way to get underneath the ice right there. There's a hole. I'm just feeling, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Look at that. I just kicked a hole and let all the ice down inside it. That was so satisfying. Look at that, it stopped flowing out there. Water's not very deep right here, so I'm not concerned if I fall in. All right. Now I'm on a little bit of structure right here. Bringing you guys out here just a little bit. The drain is way down there and around the corner. But take a look at that. That is so awesome. Look at that Frazzle Ice just flowing out of there. So it appears it's going inside a big crack right here. Yep, it's just going in that hole we just made. I wonder if I can make another hole somewhere without falling in. Watch myself fall in. Oh, that is so strong. Not kicking a hole through that part. That's got so much structure to it. Right there maybe, but that's a risk going out there. I'm not gonna fall in deep, but I would absolutely get myself soaked. Oh, look right here, I can make... That's cool too. Look at all the slush I'm sending into that. I could probably kick that thing wider. That is super thick, this part. Not right there though. That was fun. Never done that before. So you can see this water. It's all backing up through the canal. Is this structural? Wow, I'm actually out on this. Oh, this whole thing is structural. I can't even break a hole through that. Walking back, there's our chunks of ice that we were following earlier. They're all stuck. After about 2 hours, we have returned to the pond. And look at this. Water is no longer flowing over the surface. It has now found and melted a hole. Maybe from the extra pressure, maybe from the sunshine hitting it. Even though it's very cold out, it has now risen to about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Still far below freezing, but some melting can take place in the sun. But this is so cool. Whoa! Ha ha. It's alright. Anyways, the water's spewing up out of this crack and then back into that hole, which is pretty cool. Nope, not as much pressure under there as I thought. Hasn't hit me yet, but I'm sure that coldness will hit me in a minute. So the water found a good place to go underneath the ice now. But it's still pressurized a little bit back there, coming out of that crack. Oh, now I'm seeing what it's doing. It's getting in the cracks caused by the raising and lowering of the water. It's cracked the ice and it's found a whole bunch of openings now. Like right here. Still got some good flow going and entering a crack. Yep, down there's still a whole bunch of water going over that ice jam. Down here a bit. That was fast. My body has already warmed up the cold water. Now it's acting like a wetsuit. Now everybody, I came back here today 2 hours later because I'm curious whether or not back there earlier you saw I made a hole and water started pouring right into it. I'm wondering if I make a hole here in the ice somewhere, will water start pouring into it? I was hoping to do it back there where I think it definitely would have happened if I made a hole with an axe. That's a cool sounding bird. But I'm going to try right here where we still have a lot of flowing water on the surface. What happens if we try to make a hole with an axe? Hopefully I don't fall through, but it's not very deep. It's not a big deal. Will water go down or back out through the hole? Hard to tell. I don't think it's doing anything. It's definitely got clearance down below. Doing anything? No, it's not. Unfortunately. Let's give it a shot at this location. Water's much deeper on top of it. Ice is much thinner. Still does not appear to be doing anything. Let's try it further down near the water. Now that one did something cool. We got water to start spewing out of it. Not as much as we hoped for, but it's something. Walking over here on all these plants. See if we can get anything over here. Nope. I hope this video was interesting. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.